The Astra Militarum, often referred to as the Imperial Guard, is the beating heart of the Imperium of man's vast military apparatus. While the Space Marines bask in glory as the Emperor's chosen, and the Adeptus Mechanicus wields arcane technologies with an almost religious fervor, the Astra Militarum embodies humanity's relentless will to survive. They are the countless billions of soldiers drawn from every corner of the Imperium, an army so vast that it defies comprehension. Yet, their story is not one of triumph alone. It is a tale of unparalleled sacrifice, unending hardship, and the cold pragmatism of war. In the grim darkness of the far future, war is not a temporary state, but an eternal reality. For the men and women of the Astra Militarum, life is defined by conflict. Their mission is both simple and profoundly harrowing: to defend humanity against an array of threats that would annihilate it. From the nightmarish horrors of the Tyranids to the anarchic brutality of orcs, the calculating malice of the Necrons, and the seductive whispers of chaos, the foes of humanity are as numerous as they are terrifying. Against such odds, the Astra Militarum does not fight for conquest or ambition. They fight for survival. Unlike the genetically modified Adeptus Astartes, the Astra Militarum is composed of ordinary humans. These soldiers possess neither the superhuman physique nor the millennia of combat experience their transhuman counterparts enjoy. Instead, they rely on their training, discipline, and sheer numbers. A guardsman is armed with little more than a laser gun, flak armor, and an indomitable spirit. While their equipment may seem inadequate compared to the advanced war gear of other factions, it is their collective resolve that transforms them into a formidable force. The origins of the Astra Militarum trace back to the ancient Unification Wars and the Great Crusade. In those times, the Emperor's Thunder Warriors and later the Space Marine Legions spearheaded humanity's expansion. However, as the Imperium grew, the need for a massive, versatile, and expendable force became clear. Thus, the Astra Militarum was born, forged from the myriad cultures and worlds of the Imperium. Over the millennia, they have become the embodiment of humanity's determination to endure, even in the face of insurmountable odds. Despite their critical role in the Imperium's survival, the Astra Militarum often occupies a paradoxical place in the hearts and minds of those they serve. They are celebrated as the defenders of humanity, the wall that stands against the tide of darkness. Yet, they are also seen as expendable, their lives traded in vast numbers for victories that are sometimes little more than Pyrrhic. This duality is reflected in their doctrines, which emphasize both unflinching courage and a grim acceptance of loss. As we delve deeper into the Astra Militarum's history, strategies, and culture, we confront a poignant question. Are they the Imperium's noble defenders, a testament to humanity's unbreakable will? Or are they victims of a system that grinds its people into dust in the name of survival? The answer lies in their stories. Stories of glory and sacrifice, heroism and horror. For in the Astra Militarum, the best and worst of humanity stand side by side, forever locked in the struggle to endure in a universe that knows no mercy. The Astra Militarum's origins are steeped in the crucible of humanity's darkest and most transformative eras. Long before they became the embodiment of the Imperium's indomitable spirit, their foundations were laid during the tumultuous age of the Great Crusade. The early Imperium was a nascent empire, fragile and desperate to reclaim humanity's scattered colonies. It was a time of unity forged through fire, but the challenges of securing countless worlds demanded a solution beyond the elite forces leading the charge. The need for a vast, disciplined, and resource-efficient military force became undeniable. Initially, planetary defense forces provided localized protection, but their autonomy posed a significant risk. These armies were often disorganized, ill-equipped, or susceptible to rebellion. The Imperium needed a centralized force, one capable of unifying countless worlds under a single banner while adhering to the Emperor's vision of order. Thus, the foundations of what would later become the Astra Militarum were conceived, a universal army that drew from the inexhaustible human populations spread across the stars. This monumental undertaking began with the standardization of military practices. Worlds contributing soldiers to the Imperium were required to adhere to strict guidelines, ensuring that their forces could be integrated seamlessly into larger campaigns. Laser guns, flak armor, and other mass-produced equipment became the hallmark of this emerging military, designed for practicality rather than extravagance. While the elite armies of other factions relied on technological superiority or genetic enhancement, this new force relied on the sheer weight of numbers, unwavering discipline, and unrelenting perseverance. The early years of the Astra Militarum's formation were marked by both promise and peril. Their numbers allowed for victories that would have been impossible for smaller, specialized forces. Entire star systems were brought under control, not through surgical strikes but through the relentless application of manpower and firepower. Yet, their methods also laid bare the harsh realities of their existence. Losses were staggering, often measured in millions for even minor victories. These soldiers were expected to face horrors that defied comprehension, often without the hope of reinforcements or retreat. While the Imperium heralded these troops as the defenders of humanity, the reality was far more grim. Soldiers were drawn from every conceivable background. Farmers, factory workers, laborers, offered no choice but to serve. On worlds ravaged by war or stripped of resources, service in the Astra Militarum was seen as both a duty and a grim inevitability. Some worlds celebrated this conscription, treating it as a sacred calling, while others regarded it with dread, knowing that few would return. The organizational structure of the Astra Militarum reflected its dual role as both a military force and a tool of control. Regiments were typically formed from individual worlds, ensuring their loyalty was tied to their home planet rather than the Imperium as a whole. This created a paradox. While regiments fought under the same banner, their varying cultures, tactics, and levels of training often led to friction. Some regiments hailed from hive worlds, where soldiers were hardened by the brutal realities of industrial survival. Others came from feral or feudal worlds, bringing traditions that clashed with modern military doctrine. Despite these challenges, the Astra Militarum grew into a force unlike any other. Its strength lay not in any single soldier or regiment, but in its capacity to absorb unimaginable losses while continuing to fight. The Imperium's leaders recognized this, fostering a culture that emphasized duty above all else. A guardsman's life was expendable in the grand scheme, a resource to be spent in service to the greater good of humanity. It was a system that inspired both awe and revulsion, a testament to the Imperium's ability to endure and its willingness to sacrifice its own people. The question of whether the Astra Militarum were defenders of humanity or victims of war was present from their inception. To the citizens of the Imperium, they were heroes, the shield that stood between humanity and annihilation. To the soldiers themselves, the reality was often bleaker. They fought not out of choice, but out of necessity, driven by a system that offered no alternatives. The unrelenting grind of war left scars, both physical and psychological, that would endure for generations. Thus, the Astra Militarum began not as a symbol of hope or glory, but as a necessity born of the Imperium's desperate struggle for survival. Over time, they would become both a source of inspiration and a grim reminder of humanity's fragility. Their story is one of contrasts, strength and sacrifice, resilience and loss, heroism and exploitation. As the Imperium expanded and the threats it faced grew ever more dire, the Astra Militarum stood at the forefront, embodying the harsh truths of a galaxy consumed by endless war. The path that led to the Astra Militarum's role as both defenders and victims was shaped by an intricate web of historical, political, and existential pressures. Humanity's survival in the galaxy has always been precarious, its fate hanging by a thread against a backdrop of unrelenting threats. The creation and evolution of the Astra Militarum were direct responses to the Imperium's desperate need for a force capable of holding the line, no matter the cost. This situation, however, was not inevitable, but the result of centuries of decisions, circumstances, and challenges that converged into a grim necessity. The Imperium's expansion during the Great Crusade was a monumental achievement, but it also exposed the fragility of humanity's dominion. For every world brought into compliance, there were dozens more left vulnerable to external threats. Alien species, ancient machines, and other existential dangers prowled the stars, waiting for weaknesses to exploit. The Imperium needed more than localized militias or planetary defense forces. It required an adaptable, centralized military that could be deployed across any battlefield against any foe. Compounding the problem was the sheer diversity of the Imperium itself. Humanity's countless worlds were shaped by millennia of isolation, resulting in stark cultural, technological, and environmental differences. Some planets were thriving hive cities with billions of inhabitants, while others were barren wastelands or isolated colonies clinging to survival. This diversity made it impossible to adopt a one-size-fits-all approach to planetary defense. Instead, the Imperium sought to harness these differences by conscripting troops from every corner of its empire, creating a military force that could draw upon the unique strengths of each world. The unifying factor for the Astra Militarum was not their origins, but their purpose. Every guardsman was a cog in a vast, impersonal machine, their individuality subsumed by the overwhelming scale of the Imperium's needs. This approach was rooted in the Imperium's broader philosophy. The survival of humanity required sacrifice on an unimaginable scale. Soldiers were not seen as individuals, but as resources, their lives expendable in service to the greater good. This cold pragmatism, while effective, also sowed the seeds of the Astra Militarum's dual identity as both heroes and victims. The Imperium's reliance on the Astra Militarum was also a reflection of its technological stagnation. While other factions wielded advanced weaponry, powerful psychic abilities, or bioengineered warriors, the Imperium had long since abandoned the pursuit of innovation in favor of preserving its existing technologies. This meant that the Astra Militarum could not rely on superior firepower or cutting-edge strategies to secure victory. Instead, they compensated through sheer numbers, employing tactics that prioritized attrition and overwhelming force. This approach, while effective in many cases, often led to devastating losses, further reinforcing the perception of guardsmen as expendable. Another critical factor was the Imperium's rigid hierarchical structure. The Imperium's leaders, from planetary governors to high-ranking military officials, often viewed the Astra Militarum as a tool to be wielded without hesitation. Decisions were made not with the well-being of individual soldiers in mind, but with the broader strategic picture as the sole focus. This disconnect between the soldiers on the ground and the leaders directing them created an environment where unnecessary suffering and waste were commonplace. Orders were followed without question, even when they led to catastrophic outcomes. The rise of the Astra Militarum as humanity's primary line of defense was also shaped by the nature of the threats it faced. The galaxy is home to countless horrors, each presenting unique challenges that the Astra Militarum was forced to confront. Some enemies, like the Orcs, relied on brute strength and sheer numbers, demanding equally massive forces to counter their assaults. Others, like the Tyranids, posed existential threats that required sacrificial strategies to delay their advance. Each foe revealed new vulnerabilities in the Astra Militarum structure, forcing its leaders to adapt and evolve, often at the expense of countless lives. Over time, these pressures created a military force that was both indispensable and inherently tragic. The Astra Militarum became the backbone of the Imperium's defense, its soldiers hailed as heroes who stood against the galaxy's darkest horrors. Yet their sacrifices were rarely recognized, their victories often overshadowed by the scale of their losses. To the citizens of the Imperium, the Guardsmen were symbols of hope and resilience. To the Guardsmen themselves, Their service was a grim reminder of humanity's fragility and the cost of survival in an uncaring galaxy. In the end, the creation of the Astra Militarum was driven by the Imperium's unyielding need for survival. It was a force born of necessity, shaped by the harsh realities of a galaxy at war. Yet, in fulfilling its purpose, it also became a reflection of the Imperium's greatest strengths and deepest flaws, a testament to humanity's capacity for both heroism and exploitation. This dichotomy lies at the heart of the Astra Militarum's existence, defining their role in the Imperium and raising the enduring question of whether they are saviors or victims. The Astra Militarum's history is a timeline of relentless warfare, marked by countless campaigns, victories, and devastating losses. From their earliest engagements to the present, the Astra Militarum has evolved through necessity, adapting to the Imperium's shifting needs and the ever-changing threats of the galaxy. Their journey is one of constant transformation, driven by the trials of war and the demands of survival. The initial phases of their development were defined by the Great Crusade, where the need for a unified human military force became clear. As the Imperium expanded, integrating diverse worlds into its fold, it became apparent that planetary defense forces alone could not meet the demands of interstellar warfare. Centralized oversight and universal standards were introduced, creating the foundation for the Astra Militarum's organizational structure. Regiments were established based on the cultures and capabilities of individual worlds, a practice that persists to this day. The Horus Heresy represented a critical juncture in the Astra Militarum's history. While other forces bore the brunt of the conflict, the Astra Militarum played a crucial supporting role. Their sheer numbers were vital in holding key territories and combating the forces of betrayal. The heresy revealed both the strengths and vulnerabilities of the Astra Militarum. Their ability to endure immense losses and still function as a cohesive force proved indispensable. However, the chaos of the conflict also highlighted the dangers of over-reliance on centralized leadership, as entire regiments were lost to mismanagement, betrayal, or lack of coordination. In the aftermath of the heresy, the Imperium faced the challenge of rebuilding its shattered military forces. The Astra Militarum emerged as the primary defensive force of the Imperium, tasked with holding the line against a galaxy that had grown even more hostile. New doctrines were developed, emphasizing the importance of discipline, adaptability, and overwhelming firepower. The Cadian shock troops, with their exemplary training and discipline, became the gold standard for Astra Militarum regiments, influencing military strategy across the Imperium. The Age of Apostasy marked another turning point in the Astra Militarum's evolution. This dark period of civil strife tested the loyalty and resilience of the Imperium's armed forces. Many regiments were drawn into the conflicts, either defending against or participating in the chaos. The Astra Militarum's role during this era underscored their dual identity as both defenders of humanity and tools of the Imperium's political machinations. The scars of these internal conflicts lingered, shaping their role in subsequent centuries. As the galaxy plunged into the time of ending, the Astra Militarum faced challenges that tested their limits like never before. The emergence of the Tyranid hive fleets, the return of ancient threats such as the Necrons, and the relentless expansion of Orc empires placed unprecedented strain on their resources. Entire sectors were consumed in wars of attrition, with Astra Militarum regiments fighting desperately to hold the line. The rise of chaos incursions, spearheaded by the unpredictable warp storms, added another layer of complexity to their struggle. Despite these challenges, the Astra Militarum adapted and endured. New tactics were devised to counter specific threats, from trench warfare against Orc hordes to mobile artillery strikes against Tyranid swarms. Regiments specialized in particular forms of warfare, drawing upon the unique environments and traditions of their home worlds. Some regiments, such as the Valhallan Ice Warriors and Talon Desert Raiders, became legendary for their ability to fight in extreme conditions, their exploits serving as inspiration for other guardsmen across the galaxy. The introduction of more advanced military technologies, such as the Baneblade Super Heavy Tank and the Hydra Flak Tank, also marked key stages in the Astra Militarum's development. While these innovations provided crucial advantages on the battlefield, they did not alter the fundamental reality of the Astra Militarum's existence. Their strength continued to lie in their numbers, their unwavering discipline, and their willingness to endure unimaginable hardships for the sake of humanity. Throughout their history, the Astra Militarum has been shaped not only by external threats, but also by the Imperium's internal dynamics. The relentless demand for soldiers, the harsh conditions of service, and the indifference of high command have all contributed to their identity as both heroes and victims. Each campaign, from the defense of Cadia to the brutal battles of Armageddon, has added another chapter to their storied history, reinforcing their role as the unyielding shield of humanity. As the Imperium enters an era of unprecedented turmoil, the Astra Militarum remains at the forefront of its defense. Their history is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a chronicle of sacrifice and determination in the face of overwhelming odds. Yet it is also a reminder of the cost of survival in a galaxy where war is eternal and mercy is a luxury that cannot be afforded. Their story continues, written in the blood and toil of countless guardsmen who fight not for glory, but for the survival of humanity itself. Among the countless battles and campaigns that define the Astra Militarum's history, the fall of Cadia stands as a defining moment, a convergence of strategy, sacrifice, and survival that encapsulates their dual identity. It was an event not only of galactic significance, but also a stark reminder of the brutal realities faced by the countless soldiers who form humanity's last line of defense. The fall of Cadia was a turning point in the Imperium's eternal struggle, a moment that demanded unimaginable sacrifices from the Astra Militarum, shaping their role in the galaxy for centuries to come. Cadia, the linchpin of the Cadian Gate, was a fortress world that had stood as the bulwark against the forces of chaos for millennia. Its defenses were legendary, its people hardened by generations of war. The regiments raised from Cadia were among the most disciplined and effective in the Astra Militarum, their training a benchmark for the entire organization. Yet, Cadia's significance went far beyond its military might. It was the linchpin of a strategic choke point, the keystone holding back the tides of chaos from spilling unrestrained into the Imperium. The events leading to Cadia's fall were set in motion by a catastrophic assault orchestrated by the forces of chaos. Under the leadership of a notorious warlord, the assault was a meticulously planned operation designed to break the Imperium's strongest defensive line. It was not a simple invasion, but a multi-pronged offensive involving fleets, heretical cults, and massive armies of demons and traitors. The scale of the assault was unprecedented, and the Astra Militarum found themselves at the epicenter of the conflict. As the Chaos forces descended upon Cadia, the Astra Militarum played a pivotal role in organizing the planet's defense. Every available regiment, no matter how understrength or poorly equipped, was mobilized. The defense was coordinated with the assistance of various Imperial organizations, but the burden of holding the line fell squarely on the shoulders of the Guardsmen. Against impossible odds, they fought with unmatched determination, employing every tactic and resource at their disposal to repel the invaders. One of the most critical decisions during the defense of Cadia was the deployment of the Cadian shock troops to the most vulnerable sectors of the planet. These regiments, renowned for their discipline and resilience, became the backbone of the defense, holding their ground even as the Chaos forces unleashed their most devastating attacks. The leadership of the Astra Militarum displayed remarkable ingenuity, using the planet's fortified terrain to maximum advantage. Trenches, bunkers, and artillery positions were utilized with brutal efficiency, turning every inch of ground into a battlefield that exacted a heavy toll on the invaders. Despite their heroic efforts, the defenders of Cadia faced an insurmountable enemy. The Chaos assault was unrelenting, bolstered by unholy powers that defied the natural laws of the galaxy. the Astra Militarum was forced to make impossible decisions, sacrificing entire regiments to delay the advance of the enemy. These sacrifices, while devastating, bought precious time for reinforcements to arrive and for evacuation efforts to begin. The resilience of the guardsmen in these moments was a testament to their training and unyielding spirit, their actions ensuring that the greater Imperium could prepare for the fallout of Cadia's eventual loss. The pivotal moment of the campaign came when an ancient and forbidden weapon, hidden beneath the surface of Cadia, was unleashed by the forces of chaos. This weapon destabilized the planet's core, triggering cataclysmic events that ultimately led to Cadia's destruction. Even in the face of annihilation, the Astra Militarum continued to fight, their regiments covering the retreat of civilian and military personnel to the bitter end. Their actions were not in vain, as their sacrifice allowed key assets and leaders to escape, preserving a semblance of the Imperium's defensive capabilities. The fall of Cadia was more than a single battle or campaign. It was a defining moment that reshaped the Imperium's military strategy and reinforced the role of the Astra Militarum as humanity's ultimate line of defense. The loss of the fortress world was a devastating blow, but the heroism and sacrifice of the Astra Militarum ensured that the Imperium could endure. Their actions during the conflict highlighted both their strengths and the tragic realities of their existence. They were defenders in the truest sense, holding the line until the very last, yet they were also victims, their lives spent in service to a system that demanded everything and offered little in return. This event left a lasting mark on the Astra Militarum, influencing their tactics, morale, and recruitment practices for centuries. It also underscored the harsh truth that even the most fortified bastions could fall in the face of the galaxy's unrelenting horrors. For the guardsmen who fought and died on Cadia, their legacy is one of unmatched courage and sacrifice, a reminder of the thin line that separates humanity from oblivion. Their story, like so many others within the Astra Militarum, is one of triumph and tragedy intertwined, a testament to the complex and often contradictory nature of their role in the Imperium. The influence of the Astra Militarum on the galaxy is profound and multifaceted, woven into the very fabric of the Imperium's survival. They are the embodiment of humanity's sheer determination to endure against unimaginable odds. Every war they fight, every sacrifice they make, leaves an indelible mark on the wider universe, shaping not only the Imperium, but the countless civilizations and species that share the galaxy with them. One of the most immediate impacts of the Astra Militarum is their role as a stabilizing force. In a galaxy beset by unending war, their presence provides a measure of order amidst the chaos. When a world is threatened by external forces or internal insurrections, it is the Astra Militarum that arrives to restore control. This stability is essential for the Imperium's vast and decentralized infrastructure, allowing for the continuation of trade, communication, and governance. Without the Astra Militarum's relentless defense, the Imperium would collapse under the weight of its own size and complexity. The Astra Militarum's campaigns also have far-reaching consequences for the Imperium's relationship with other factions. Their victories and defeats can shift the balance of power in entire sectors, altering the dynamics of interstellar conflict. When the Astra Militarum successfully repels an Orc invasion or delays the advance of a Tyranid hive fleet, they buy time for the Imperium to regroup and reinforce its defenses. Conversely, their failures can lead to devastating consequences such as the loss of critical worlds, resources, or strategic choke points. Beyond their immediate military impact, the Astra Militarum's actions influence the morale and unity of the Imperium's population. Their victories are celebrated as proof of humanity's resilience, inspiring hope among citizens who live under the constant threat of annihilation. The stories of guardsmen who stand their ground against impossible odds become legends, reinforcing the Imperium's narrative of perseverance and sacrifice. However, their heavy losses and the often brutal nature of their campaigns can also sow despair and disillusionment. The sight of shattered regiments returning from battle serves as a grim reminder of the cost of survival in a galaxy at war. On a broader scale, the Astra Militarum's endless battles shape the physical and political landscape of the galaxy. The aftermath of their campaigns often leaves worlds scarred, with cities reduced to rubble and ecosystems irreparably damaged. These battlefields, strewn with the wreckage of war, become monuments to humanity's determination to endure. At the same time, their presence can fundamentally alter the governance of a world. Planets liberated by the Astra Militarum are often subjected to the Imperium's strict control, with local leaders replaced by Imperial overseers and populations conscripted into military service. The sheer scale of the Astra Militarum's operations also has significant logistical and economic implications. Entire industries are dedicated to supplying their war efforts, from the mass production of laser guns and flak armor to the construction of tanks and artillery. The demand for resources to sustain their campaigns places immense pressure on the Imperium's infrastructure, with countless worlds devoted to the extraction and processing of materials. This resource-intensive system creates a cycle of dependence, where the Imperium's survival relies on the continuous mobilization of its people and planets for war. For the galaxy at large, the Astra Militarum represents both a symbol of humanity's strength and a reminder of its fragility. To alien species and rival factions, they are a formidable adversary, their sheer numbers and tenacity capable of turning the tide of even the most desperate battles. Yet, their reliance on attrition and sacrifice underscores the Imperium's vulnerability. Their victories are hard-won and often Pyrrhic, achieved at a cost that leaves the Imperium weakened and exposed to further threats. In a more abstract sense, the Astra Militarum's existence shapes the very nature of war in the galaxy. Their strategies and doctrines influence the tactics of other factions, forcing them to adapt to the Imperium's overwhelming manpower and relentless offensives. This dynamic creates a perpetual arms race, with each side developing new technologies and techniques to counter the other. The Astra Militarum's reliance on massed infantry and artillery has led to the proliferation of weapons designed to exploit these vulnerabilities, escalating the scale and destructiveness of interstellar conflict. Ultimately, the Astra Militarum's impact on the galaxy is both vast and deeply personal. Their battles determine the fate of worlds, their sacrifices ensure the survival of the Imperium, and their legacy inspires both awe and sorrow. They are the embodiment of humanity's struggle to endure in a universe that offers no mercy, their story a testament to the resilience and tragedy of their species. The galaxy bears the scars of their wars, each one a reminder of the cost of survival and the unyielding will of the Imperium to persist against all odds. The Astra Militarum is a force defined by its unique combination of scale, diversity, and ingenuity. Unlike other military organizations within the galaxy, the Astra Militarum does not rely on advanced technology, genetic enhancement, or supernatural power. Instead, its strength lies in its sheer manpower, adaptability, and ability to integrate the distinct characteristics of countless cultures and environments into a cohesive fighting force. These traits set it apart from every other entity in the grim darkness of the far future. One of the most distinctive aspects of the Astra Militarum is its sheer size. No other military force in the galaxy can match its vastness. With billions of soldiers spread across thousands of regiments, it is an army of unimaginable scale. Each regiment is raised from a specific planet, contributing to the organization's staggering diversity. This scale allows the Astra Militarum to deploy forces across multiple war fronts simultaneously, engaging in conflicts that span entire star systems. However, this reliance on numbers also comes with challenges, as coordinating such a colossal force requires exceptional logistical precision and a willingness to endure staggering losses. The diversity of the Astra Militarum is one of its greatest strengths. Each regiment reflects the culture, environment, and traditions of its homeworld, resulting in a wide array of fighting styles and approaches to warfare. For example, The Death Corps of Krieg are infamous for their grim determination and trench warfare expertise, forged by centuries of conflict on their devastated homeworld. In contrast, the Catachan jungle fighters excel in guerrilla tactics and survival in dense, hostile environments, shaped by the lethal flora and fauna of their planet. This regional specialization allows the Astra Militarum to field units uniquely suited to specific battlefields, giving them an edge in adaptability. Another unique feature of the Astra Militarum is its reliance on combined arms tactics. Unlike elite forces that rely heavily on specialized units, the Astra Militarum integrates infantry, armor, artillery, and air support into a unified battlefield strategy. Infantry forms the backbone of the force, overwhelming enemies with massed formations and relentless assaults. Armor units, including the iconic Lehman Russ battle tanks, provide heavy firepower and mobility. Artillery regiments deploy devastating barrages that can annihilate enemy positions, while air support delivers rapid strikes and logistical resupply. This layered approach to warfare allows the Astra Militarum to tackle a wide range of threats, from entrenched fortifications to fast-moving alien swarms. The Astra Militarum's equipment reflects its focus on practicality and mass production. The standard-issue lasgun, while often mocked for its simplicity, is a testament to the organization's philosophy. Durable, reliable, and easy to manufacture, the lasgun epitomizes the Astra Militarum's approach to war, functional tools wielded by countless soldiers to achieve victory through persistence and coordination. Similarly, their flak armor, while not as advanced as the protective gear of other factions, provides a cost-effective means of safeguarding soldiers against the myriad threats they face. Leadership within the Astra Militarum is another defining characteristic. Commanders are drawn from various sources, including planetary nobility, seasoned veterans, and officers trained in prestigious military academies. While the quality of leadership can vary widely, the Astra Militarum's hierarchical structure ensures that orders are followed with precision, even under the most chaotic conditions. Commissars, with their iconic uniforms and unyielding resolve, play a critical role in maintaining discipline, instilling fear and loyalty in equal measure to prevent desertion or insubordination. The Astra Militarum's adaptability extends to its doctrine and tactics. Faced with an ever-changing array of enemies, the organization continuously evolves its strategies to counter new threats. For instance, against the endless hordes of the Tyranids, the Astra Militarum employs defensive perimeters reinforced with artillery and heavy weaponry. Against the chaotic onslaughts of orcs, they rely on massed firepower and armored counterattacks. This ability to adapt to the unique challenges posed by different adversaries is a hallmark of the Astra Militarum's effectiveness. One of the most poignant aspects of the Astra Militarum is the psychological resilience of its soldiers. Guardsmen are ordinary humans, often drafted from civilian life and thrust into the horrors of galactic warfare. Despite this, they demonstrate remarkable courage and determination, enduring unimaginable conditions to defend their comrades and their worlds. This resilience is bolstered by a deep sense of duty and a belief in the Imperium's cause, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Finally, the Astra Militarum's unique relationship with the worlds it protects and recruits from is central to its identity. Each regiment carries the pride and traditions of its home planet into battle, creating a deep bond between the soldiers and their origins. This connection fosters a sense of identity and belonging, even within the vast impersonal machinery of the Imperium. However, it also highlights the human cost of the Astra Militarum's existence, as countless worlds are stripped of their populations to sustain the endless war effort. The Astra Militarum's uniqueness lies in its ability to turn humanity's ordinary traits, resilience, ingenuity, and adaptability, into extraordinary strengths. In a galaxy filled with godlike beings and unimaginable horrors, the Astra Militarum stands as a testament to the power of the human spirit. Their story is one of perseverance, a reminder that even the most humble tools and individuals can shape the fate of the stars. Yet, their uniqueness also underscores the price of survival, as the Imperium's reliance on their sacrifices continues to define their role as both saviors and expendable assets in the vast theater of war. Among the countless battles and campaigns that define the Astra Militarum's history, certain individuals stand out as symbols of its triumphs and tragedies. These figures, drawn from diverse worlds and backgrounds, exemplify the courage, ingenuity, and sacrifice that characterize the organization. Their actions and legacies offer a window into the complexities of serving as humanity's defenders in a galaxy that knows no peace. One of the most celebrated figures in Astra Militarum history is Lord Solar Macarius, a name synonymous with conquest and glory. Macarius is renowned for leading the greatest Imperial military campaign since the early days of the Imperium. His unmatched strategic brilliance allowed him to reclaim more than 1,000 worlds, expanding the Imperium's borders in an age of stagnation. Despite his achievements, his legacy is bittersweet. His death marked the end of his conquests, and the lack of a leader of his caliber led to infighting and the eventual fragmentation of his empire. Nevertheless, his name remains a symbol of the heights the Astra Militarum can achieve under inspired leadership. Another legendary figure is Ursarkar Creed, the steadfast commander of the Cadian shock troops. Creed's tactical genius and unshakable resolve made him central to the defense of Cadia, where his ability to turn desperate situations to his advantage became legendary. He embodied the best qualities of the Astra Militarum: discipline, ingenuity, and unwavering commitment to duty. His leadership during the fall of Cadia left an indelible mark on history, even as it highlighted the impossible burdens placed upon those who serve. His disappearance during the cataclysmic events of the planet's destruction only deepened the mystique surrounding his legacy. In the grim and often brutal hierarchy of the Astra Militarum, commissars hold a unique and controversial position. Among them, Commissar Ibram Gaunt stands out as an exceptional figure. Gaunt, the commander of the Tanith First and Only, is known not only for his military acumen, but also for his humanity and compassion, qualities that set him apart in a system that often views soldiers as expendable. Gaunt's leadership saved countless lives, earning him the unwavering loyalty of his troops. His story demonstrates the possibility of balancing the harsh demands of war with a sense of duty to those who serve. Another notable commissar is Sebastian Yarrick, a name that strikes fear into orcs across the galaxy. Yarrick's legendary status was forged during the Second War for Armageddon, where he played a pivotal role in repelling the orc invasion led by Gazkul Thraka. Known as the hero of Hades' Hive, Yarrick's unyielding determination and personal bravery became a rallying point for the Astra Militarum. His iconic Power Claw and Bionic Eye, trophies taken from his orc enemies, symbolize his indomitable will. His story is one of relentless resistance, exemplifying the Astra Militarum's refusal to yield, no matter the odds. Not all heroes of the Astra Militarum are commanders or legendary warriors. Many unsung individuals have left their mark through extraordinary acts of courage. Colonel Iron Hand Straken, a hardened veteran of the Cadican jungle fighters, is a prime example. Straken's survival in the deadly jungles of his homeworld and his continued service despite grievous injuries highlight the resilience and determination of Astra Militarum soldiers. His leadership style, characterized by a blend of pragmatism and ferocity, exemplifies the traits that define the Cadican regiments. These celebrated figures highlight the inherent contradictions of the Astra Militarum's existence. Their accomplishments are often achieved at immense personal and collective cost. They are hailed as heroes, yet their lives are shaped by the Imperium's cold pragmatism. The burdens they bear and the sacrifices they make reveal the human cost of the Astra Militarum's endless struggle. Even among the most celebrated leaders, there are those whose stories reflect the darker aspects of the Astra Militarum's legacy. Figures like General Stern, who commanded the Cadian 412th during the Cronus campaign, embody the tragic necessity of sacrifice. Stern's actions, though ultimately successful, came at the cost of his life and countless others, underscoring the Imperium's reliance on its soldiers' willingness to give everything for victory. Through these individuals, the Astra Militarum's dual identity as defenders of humanity and victims of war becomes starkly apparent. Each hero, from Macarius to Gaunt, represents a facet of the Astra Militarum's legacy, offering a window into the triumphs and tragedies of the organization. Their stories inspire awe and respect, but they also serve as reminders of the immense cost of survival in a galaxy defined by endless conflict. These figures are not only leaders and legends, but also reflections of the resilience, courage, and sacrifice that define the Astra Militarum at every level. The Astra Militarum, while serving as the backbone of the Imperium's military might, is surrounded by a host of unanswered questions and lingering mysteries. These unresolved elements add layers of complexity to their existence, painting a picture of an organization caught between necessity and sacrifice. From the hidden motives of their leadership to the psychological toll on their soldiers, these enigmas underscore the duality of the Astra Militarum's role as both humanity's defenders and its most expendable resource. One of the most pressing questions revolves around the full extent of the Astra Militarum's numbers. The Imperium's size and the secrecy surrounding its operations make it impossible to accurately gauge the number of regiments in active service. While billions of soldiers are believed to be under arms at any given time, the sheer scale of the Imperium means that entire sectors of regiments could exist without ever being recorded in official histories. Some scholars theorize that unknown contingents of the Astra Militarum have been lost to bureaucratic oversight or stationed in forgotten systems, fighting wars long abandoned by the Imperium's central authorities. The exact mechanisms of regiment recruitment and conscription also remain a subject of speculation. Every world contributes to the Astra Militarum differently, but some practices are shrouded in mystery. Certain planets, especially those on the fringes of the Imperium, seem to have uncharacteristically high conscription quotas, raising questions about whether these populations are being exploited for ulterior motives. Additionally, the fates of recruits who fail to meet the Astra Militarum's stringent standards are often unclear. Are they reassigned to menial roles, or are there darker consequences for those deemed unfit for service? Another unresolved issue lies in the autonomy of planetary governors and their interactions with the Astra Militarum. While regiments are technically beholden to the broader Imperium, the governors of certain influential worlds wield significant power over their military contributions. This can result in favoritism, corruption, or the prioritization of personal interests over the Imperium's needs. The extent to which these local politics impact the efficiency and integrity of the Astra Militarum remains an open question, particularly in sectors where the chain of command is tenuous or strained. The logistics of sustaining the Astra Militarum's war efforts also give rise to many unanswered questions. Feeding, arming, and transporting billions of soldiers across the galaxy is a monumental task, yet the specifics of how this is achieved are often obscured by the Imperium's bureaucratic machinery. The Adeptus Administratum, responsible for coordinating supplies, operates with a level of inefficiency that borders on incomprehensible. This has led to speculation about how many regiments are abandoned, undersupplied, or misallocated due to clerical errors or deliberate sabotage by enemy agents. Perhaps the most unsettling mystery is the psychological toll of war on the guardsmen themselves. While the Astra Militarum relies on indoctrination and discipline to maintain order, there is little acknowledgement of the long-term effects of exposure to constant violence, fear, and despair. Do the soldiers who survive countless battles become stronger, or are they irreparably damaged by their experiences? Tales of veterans who exhibit strange behaviors or harbor deep resentment toward the Imperium suggest that the psychological burden of service is far greater than officially recognized. Some theorists even argue that the Astra Militarum's emphasis on collective identity and duty is a deliberate attempt to suppress individual trauma, ensuring soldiers remain functional at the expense of their humanity. The role of propaganda in shaping the image of the Astra Militarum also raises significant questions. Official narratives glorify their sacrifices and depict them as heroes of humanity, yet these accounts often omit the harsher realities of their service. How much of the Astra Militarum's reputation is carefully constructed to maintain morale, and how much reflects the true nature of their deeds? This dichotomy fuels speculation that the Imperium's portrayal of the Astra Militarum is as much about controlling the population as it is about celebrating their victories. The enigmatic fate of lost regiments further deepens the mystery. Over the millennia, countless Astra Militarum units have vanished without a trace, their final moments unrecorded. Whether these regiments were annihilated, cut off from the Imperium, or absorbed by unknown entities remains a subject of speculation. Stories of ghost regiments, forces that appear on battlefields long after their supposed destruction, add a supernatural element to these mysteries, blending fact and legend in ways that captivate and unsettle. Finally, the Astra Militarum's role in larger, undisclosed plans of the Imperium is a source of enduring speculation. There are rumors of regiments being deployed to secretive missions with objectives known only to the highest echelons of command. These operations, often veiled in secrecy and marked by inexplicable orders, suggest that the Astra Militarum is sometimes used as a pawn in schemes that go far beyond their understanding. The nature of these missions and their outcomes remain hidden, leaving both historians and soldiers to wonder about the true purpose behind certain campaigns. These unanswered questions and theories highlight the complex, often contradictory nature of the Astra Militarum. They are an institution defined by both transparency and secrecy, their actions driven by necessity yet shrouded in mystery. These enigmas serve to deepen the intrigue surrounding the Astra Militarum, reinforcing their role as not only the defenders of humanity, but also as participants in a story far larger and more uncertain than they may ever know. The Astra Militarum stands as one of the Imperium's most enduring institutions, a cornerstone of humanity's defense against the countless threats that seek its annihilation. Yet, the long-term consequences of their existence and the role they play in the galactic landscape extend far beyond the battles they fight. Their impact shapes not only the fate of the Imperium, but also the dynamics of the wider universe, leaving an indelible mark on civilizations, ecosystems, and the philosophical understanding of humanity's place in the cosmos. One of the most profound long-term effects of the Astra Militarum is their role in preserving the Imperium's fragile stability. By serving as a constant deterrent against external and internal threats, they maintain the status quo, ensuring that humanity's dominion, however precarious, endures. Without their tireless efforts, entire sectors would fall to alien invasions, chaos incursions, or rebellions. This stability, however, comes at a significant cost. The enormous resources devoted to maintaining the Astra Militarum drain countless worlds, leaving them impoverished, overpopulated, or stripped of their natural wealth. The militarization of the Imperium, driven in large part by the demands of the Astra Militarum, has also shaped humanity's collective psyche. Across countless worlds, cultures have become defined by war. The glorification of sacrifice and duty permeates every aspect of life, fostering an acceptance of perpetual conflict as the natural state of existence. While this has created a population hardened to the horrors of war, it has also stifled creativity and progress. The focus on survival above all else has limited humanity's potential for innovation, exploration, and cultural growth, trapping the species in a cycle of stagnation and attrition. The ecological impact of the Astra Militarum's operations is another long-term consequence that cannot be ignored. The relentless extraction of resources to fuel their war efforts has devastated countless worlds, leaving them barren and uninhabitable. Battlefields themselves often become wastelands, scarred by orbital bombardments, chemical warfare, and the sheer intensity of combat. These environmental consequences are not limited to human worlds. Alien species and ecosystems are also irrevocably altered or destroyed by the Astra Militarum's campaigns, further destabilizing the delicate balance of the galaxy. The social consequences of the Astra Militarum's existence are equally far-reaching. The massive conscription quotas required to sustain their numbers have reshaped societies across the Imperium. On some worlds, serving in the Astra Militarum is seen as a sacred duty, a rite of passage that binds communities together. On others, it is a grim necessity, a burden born out of fear and desperation. In both cases, the constant demand for soldiers has led to a culture of loss, where families expect to lose loved ones to war and entire generations grow up without knowing peace. This normalization of sacrifice has created a population resilient to hardship but deeply scarred by the perpetual absence of stability and security. The Astra Militarum's influence extends beyond the Imperium itself, shaping the strategies and responses of other factions. Their ability to mobilize overwhelming numbers and endure catastrophic losses forces adversaries to adapt their tactics, leading to an arms race that escalates the scale and intensity of galactic conflict. Alien civilizations that might otherwise have sought peaceful coexistence are often driven to militarize in response to the Imperium's aggressive posture, perpetuating a cycle of hostility and mistrust that defines interstellar relations. At a philosophical level, the Astra Militarum raises profound questions about humanity's relationship with the universe. Their existence is a testament to the resilience and adaptability of the human spirit, but it also underscores the species' fragility and dependence on sacrifice for survival. The soldiers of the Astra Militarum are celebrated as heroes, yet their lives are defined by hardship and disposability, raising uncomfortable questions about the value of individual lives in the face of collective survival. This duality reflects the broader contradictions of the Imperium itself, a civilization that survives by devouring its own people. In the far future, the Astra Militarum's legacy will be one of both triumph and tragedy. Their sacrifices will be remembered as the foundation upon which the Imperium's survival was built, but the scars they leave on humanity and the galaxy will endure long after the last regiment has marched into battle. The price of their victories, measured in lives, resources, and lost potential, will continue to shape the Imperium's trajectory, determining whether it remains a bastion of resistance against the galaxy's horrors or succumbs to the weight of its own excesses. For the galaxy as a whole, the Astra Militarum serves as a reminder of the cost of war in a universe that offers no reprieve. Their story is one of endurance and sacrifice, a reflection of humanity's will to survive at any cost. Yet, it is also a cautionary tale, highlighting the dangers of becoming defined by conflict and the sacrifices required to maintain dominance in a hostile and unyielding cosmos. The impact of the Astra Militarum is as vast and complex as the galaxy they inhabit, a legacy that will resonate across the stars for millennia to come.